Hello viewers, in my previous lecture I had explained you about the various excretory organs of different organisms. Today we'll begin with the human excretory system. I had also mentioned you the various organs of human excretory system. They are a pair of kidneys, a pair of ureters, a urinary bladder and a urethra. About kidney I had mentioned you earlier. Now I would like to tell you that a dissected kidney, or you can say inside the kidney, there are two zones, or the dissected kidney shows two distinct regions, the outer layer and the inner zone. The outer zone is reddish brown in color and it is termed as cortex, and the inner zone or the inner layer, it is light colored or it is greyish color. Then this is termed as medulla. This is termed as medulla. This medulla consists of many conical pyramid masses, and these are called as renal pyramids. Or you can say the medulla is divided into some conical like structures called as medullary pyramids, and base of the pyramids, they face towards the cortex. Their pyramid shape, but their base is towards the cortex and their apex is towards the lumen of the kidney, lumen of the calyx actually. So apexes means papilla, so their papilla project into the lumen of the calyces. Thus conical medullary pyramids, they project into the calyces. These are the minor calyces and the major calyces. And this cortex extends onto the medullary pyramids as renal column. These cortex extend on medullary pyramids as renal column, and that is termed as column of Bertani. Each kidney has, I have already mentioned, has nearly 1 million nephrons. Each kidney has 1 million nephrons, and these nephrons are the functional units of each kidney. Now I would like to explain you the next part, that is the major. I told you just now, the major calyces, they join to form the minor calyces join to form the major calyces, and they open into the renal pelvis. So I am repeating that the renal pyramids, they face their base face towards cortex and apex face towards the papillae and into the lumen of the calyx, and the minor calyces join to form major calyces which open into renal pelvis, and this renal pelvis continues, and this renal pelvis continues to hilum, from which here you can see on the screen the longitudinal section of kidney. Here you can see the presence of medullary pyramids and the renal columns which I told you. So I am repeating, the cortex extends onto medullary pyramids as the renal column, and these columns are called as columns of Bertani. And then you can see in the figure the presence of the medullary pyramids, renal artery red in color, renal vein blue in color, and renal pelvis, the cavity, and the ureter. Then I move on to the next part, that is the ureter. The renal pelvis continues to hilum, from which a large excretory duct emerges out. This excretory duct is called as ureter. A ureter is a thin, slender, narrow muscular tube. A ureter is a thin, slender, narrow muscular tube. In humans, there are a pair of ureters, and it is about 28 centimeters long. it emerges from the hilum of the kidney. Ureters emerges from the hilum of the kidney. It runs dorsally along the abdominal wall and open obliquely into the urinary bladder. The ureters receive the urine from the renal pelvis and pass to the urinary bladder. The passing of the urine from the ureters to the urinary bladder is by the peristaltic waves on its wall. Then we move on to the next part, that is urinary bladder. Urinary bladder, it is a muscular structure. It is hollow, it is thick walled and it is pear shaped. Urinary bladder is a hollow, thick walled muscular pear shaped structure, and it lies in the pelvic region of the body. It lies in the pelvic region of the body. It is formed of two main parts. They are body and trigone. The two parts are body and trigone. The body of ureter, it is the reservoir for the urine, and it can be stretched out considerably with getting torn when it is filled with urine. The trigone is a small triangular area in the wall of the urinary bladder. The trigone is a small triangular area in the wall of urinary bladder. It has three openings. Two openings of the ureters at the upper ends of the trigone and one opening at the lowermost end of the trigone, from which urethra emerges out. I repeat, it has three openings. Two openings of ureters at the upper ends of the trigone and one opening at the lowermost end of the trigone, from where urethra emerges out. The urethra is a membranous tube that arises from the neck of the bladder. I repeat, it is a membranous tube that arises from the neck of the bladder, and it conducts the urine to the exterior. In adult man, it serves to convey semen and urine to the exterior of the body. I repeat, in adult man, it serves to convey semen. That means semen is also ejected from here only, as well as voiding out of urine. Urine is also voided out. Then in adult female, it serves to excrete out urine only. In females, it excretes out urine only, whereas in males, it helps in releasing semen as well as urine to the exterior of the body. The distal portion of urethra is guarded by sphincter muscles. These are external sphincter muscles. They are striated muscles. These striated muscles are under voluntary control of the nervous system, and the muscular urethral sphincters keep the urethra closed except during voiding of the urine. I repeat, these sphincter muscles, which are striated muscles, which are voluntary control of the nervous system. So these muscular urethral sphincters keep the urethra closed except during voiding of the urine. So these I mentioned, they are the excretory organs, or you can say they form the excretory system of men. Now I would like to tell you something about the ureter and the urethra. See, the ureters are obliquely placed, okay, and they start from kidney and proceeds to urinary bladder, whereas urethra starts from the urinary bladder and opens to outside. And the second difference between the two is ureters are not lined by external sphincter muscles, whereas The urethra is lined by external sphincteral muscle at its distal end. Distal means the end. One is the beginning and the end part. That is distal end. Ureters throw the urine, whereas urethra conveys semen and the urine. Now, the thing is that the question is, why is left kidney situated little higher than the right kidney? This is due to the reason that right kidney is occupied by the liver, which pushes the right kidney somewhat to the lower side. So you must know this, that why is left kidney situated little higher than the right kidney. This is due to a reason that right side is occupied by the liver, which pushes the right kidney somewhat to the lower side. Another question I would like to discuss with you, that is the passages, name the passages in sequences through which the urine passes from the kidney to outside in humans, and how is this urine prevented from flowing in the reverse direction into the ureters. I just now told you ureters are oblique, not straight tubes. So urine is formed in the nephrons of the kidney. I discussed this. Below is the structure of nephron. It is the diagrammatic representation of nephrons showing blood vessel duct and the tubule. I'll discuss this later on in detail. Only the structure I'll mention you. Nephron, very minute microscopic structures. It is a highly coiled tubular structure. One end of the nephron contains a cup-shaped structure called as Bowman's capsule, which contains a network of capillaries called as glomerulus. And then highly coiled tubular structure is seen, that is in the yellow color. Then the brown color you see, these are the blood vessels. And these highly coiled tubular structure, the first part is the PCT, that is proximal convoluted tubule. Then is the loop of Henle's, which is the one going down is the descending, going up is the ascending, and then distal convoluted tubule, which opens into a collecting duct. So this I will be explaining you in detail when I'll tell you about the formation of the urine. Now this you can see here on the screen. I told you that the Bowman's capsule, in this there is a fine network of capillaries. This actually the renal artery divides further into afferent arteriole, and these are in forms, that means the renal artery divides into very fine branches. There it is termed as afferent arteriole, very fine, and this afferent arteriole forms a bunch of, or you can say network of capillaries or a tuft of capillaries, which led into the Bowman's capsule, and it is termed as glomerulus. So the blood which has to be filtered, that comes to the glomerulus, and by this only afferent arteriole. And when it is leaving out from the Bowman's capsule, it leaves out by the efferent arteriole. Then I would like to tell you this answer of this question which I asked you, that name the passages in sequence through which urine passes from the kidney to outside in human beings. So urine is formed in the nephron of the kidneys, and each nephron passes its urine into the renal pelvis, and then subsequently flows into the ureter, then to the urinary bladder and urethra, and finally it's given outside the body. Now I told you these ureters are obliquely placed in the urinary bladder, and this way they do not allow the backward flow of the urine. Since the ureters are obliquely placed in the urinary bladder, they do not allow the backward flow of the urine on the contraction of the bladder. The terminal parts are obliquely placed, and the ureters get compressed on contracting of the bladder muscles. So this way the urine doesn't move in the reverse direction, it moves in the forward direction only. Then another question I would like to ask you, that the ureters, they do not have valves at their end opening into the urinary bladder, yet urine doesn't flow back into them on the contraction of the bladder. What is the reason? This I told you just now. Ureters are obliquely placed in the urinary bladder, due to which they do not allow the backward flow of the urine on the contraction of the bladder. Then you also should know that the bladders and the ureters are lined by transitional epithelial tissue. So these transitional epithelial tissue, they may considerably be stretched without getting torn when the bladder and the ureters are filled with urine. I am repeating, the bladders and the ureters, they are lined by transitional epithelial tissue, so that they may considerably be stretched without getting torn when the bladder and the ureters are filled with urine. So this way it's very important to learn about the tissues, and in my next previous lecture I had explained you about the various parts of the kidney, as well as now also I have explained you the different parts present in the kidney. I'll just recall them with you, and they are, I told you, they are, the kidney is a bean shape, reddish brown in color, and these kidneys has two distinct layers. I told you they are cortex and medulla. The outermost is the cortex area, which is reddish brown, and the inner is the medulla, which is colored grayish. And this medulla consists many, round about 8 to 18 conical pyramid masses, which you can see on the screen. They contain round about 8 to 18 conical pyramid masses called renal pyramids, and the base of the pyramids face towards the cortex, and their apexes project into the lumen of the calyx, and the minor calyces join to form the major calyces. The smaller one are the minor, and the larger one are the major calyces, which open into the renal pelvis area of the kidney, and this renal pelvis continues to hilum, from which a large excretory duct emerges out called as ureter. So the urine formed in the nephron comes to the renal pelvis. From the renal pelvis goes to the ureters. From the ureters goes to the urinary bladder, and from urinary bladder it goes to the urethra, and this way the urine is excreted out from the urethra. Thank you.